But on the flip side, Eden Hazard, who we all adored, unless you supported Tottenham or someone he scored against in the Premier League. We love to watch him play, but we've hardly seen him in action for Real Madrid. He has been beset by injuries and all sorts of concerns. So how worrying is it for the national side, given his club form?
Yeah, well, I think there's two ways of looking at it. One way is, here's this guy who's super talented, but they can't keep him fit. Is he, will he break down at the Euros? How will that play out? The other way of looking at it is he's going to be one of very few, of those real elite players who hasn't played too much over the past year. When you compare it to so many players who just seem burned out by this relentless calendar of football. So there is the potential that actually it gives him a freshness that we don't see from other players. So I think that's quite interesting for them. I interviewed Roberto Martinez last week for The Athletic, and he was talking about Hazard, and he was saying he just can't understand how, a player who for most of his career at Chelsea and Lille before just didn't really miss games at all. He'd play every week, he'd play twice a week. And then he went to Real Madrid, and clearly it's, I don't know whether it's a mixture of pressure, expectation, and also just, he's now hitting 30. Is it just a case of his body wear and tear over time? Have we seen the best of Eden Hazard already? Is he actually able to get back to those levels that we saw in his late 20s at Chelsea?
Stevie, that's a great point he brings up there. Have we seen the best of Eden Hazard? Because we always want to will great players on, but sometimes it doesn't work. Look at, seems like a Chelsea curse, but Fernando Torres when he went to Chelsea, or Andrei Shevchenko, or even, I don't know, Morata to an extent as well. Are we past the sell-by date for Eden Hazard, do you feel?
I feel like his Real Madrid move probably come too late for him, to be honest. He probably should have left a season or two early. And, maybe if he would have got into the kind of form and rhythm he was in at Chelsea, which was just, watching him play against Liverpool, he always turned up. But that was the same for every other club. He turned up in every game. And, watching his struggles, particularly in the Champions League this season, I know he come back from injury, but, watching him against Chelsea, that felt like a moment he could have grasped and been like, right, I'm going to take this now by the scruff of the neck and be that player that he was for Chelsea. Because, Chelsea have just won the Champions League, but for a long time, Eden Hazard was holding them up. He was the one sort of, he weren't a one club man by any stretch, but he was the star player out and out. And to see him sort of just, he dwindled through that game, didn't he? And just looked a shell of his former self. He just doesn't look like fit yet. He just doesn't look the player he was, but we know deep down in there somewhere is that Eden Hazard who can just rip it up. So, Belgian fans will be hoping.
Yeah, I think it's also like we forget with with recency bias how good he was. I mean, particularly at Chelsea in his last year there, I covered quite a lot of their games, and he was too good for Chelsea. He was too good for the Premier League. It was sometimes players in the Premier League just reach a level where you think he's Barcelona or Real Madrid, and he's not hanging around. He's just too good. It got a bit like that with Gareth Bale, then maybe with Luis Suarez. There were just certain players that you start watching them in the Premier League each week, and you're just like, it's just too easy for you. You need to actually go and challenge yourself at that highest level. I know there's all different arguments over, is the Premier League a higher level anyway than La Liga, but players want to prove themselves in that, really intimidating environment of Real Madrid or Barcelona. And he's not yet been able to do that, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it's just ironic, isn't it? You couldn't even write it that he would be facing Chelsea in the Champions League when he makes his return to the side and they get eliminated, and Chelsea are the ones who go on to win the tournament. Full stop.